I've been having a lot of conversations recently with agents who are producing anywhere between the $10 and $20 million range, who are looking for solutions to their problems, because the reality is, in this market, there are so many distractions right now. And not only that, there is tons of pressure on agents to perform. And as an agent in the $10 to $20 million range, you may not have the resources available to really fully satisfy all of the different needs of your clientele base. And so, as you can imagine, as a team leader, what we have to offer is appealing. And what we have to offer as a team and our infrastructure, the support systems, the business opportunities, everything is appealing to them except for one thing. That's what I wanted to talk about today. The biggest pushback, one of the biggest fears that I see in solo agents who are thinking about making the transition onto a team is their fear of losing their identity. And by the way, it's a valid concern, valid fear, absolutely. I mean, I totally understand that. I was once in that position myself, and I was thinking, why would I want to join a team when I want to build my own brand, I want to build my own identity? And it's totally understandable. It took me a while to allow me to to kind of relieve myself of that thought process, cast my ego aside. And that casting of my ego allowed me to grow. Things have changed since I personally was on a team, and a lot's changed in the industry. And so the first thing that I'd want you to ask yourself, if you're in this position where you're thinking, maybe I could benefit from joining a team, but I don't want to lose my identity, is think about why you got into the business to begin with. You see, most people, when they get into business as a real estate agent, they are usually watching something along the lines of $1 million listings, selling sunset. They're seeing all the glitz and the glam. They're seeing the client-facing side of things. They're seeing the sexy houses. Let me tell you what they're not seeing. They're not seeing the countless hours spent on marketing, administration, paperwork, phone calls, and we're not talking like the tough guy negotiating phone calls. We're talking about the scheduling the vendors. We're talking about prospecting. We're talking about all the other things that agents do on a daily basis, all the different phone calls that we make on a daily basis that, quite frankly, do not drive business results. And so when you're an agent thinking about making the transition and you're saying, I don't want to lose my identity, well, what is your identity really? And what did you want it to be when you got into real estate? I have a funny feeling it looks a lot like what being an agent on a good team these days looks like, which is client to contract. Focusing on the stuff that matters, focusing on the client-facing side of things and leaving the rest to somebody else, leaving those headaches to somebody else. Make it somebody else's problem, not your own. And so your identity as a business owner, your identity as a real estate agent is definitely different than your identity as a business owner. And so if you came into this thinking, I want to build my own team, I want to build this massive operation, well, yeah, joining a team might not be the best fit for you, although maybe in the short term it would be. Perhaps in the long term the visions aren't necessarily in alignment. But if your thought process is, I wanted to build my identity as a rock star real estate agent, I want to sell a lot of houses, I want to talk to a lot of clients, I want to show a lot of homes, I want to live the life of what I saw on $1 Million Listing and Selling Sunset, then definitely the identity that you've been building up until this point, I would argue, is actually a shadow of what you would have wanted it to be. And so in joining an organization, you could actually build the identity that you once were seeking while you were watching Netflix and Selling Sunset and all that stuff. So it could be that perhaps the identity that you wanted is actually the one that you could get. A. B. Building a brand using your name. This is something that I see a lot of agents actually have trouble dealing with is letting go of the fact that they are no longer the sole person that's responsible for the sale, and that somehow that's going to dilute their brand. Well, let me tell you something. I've talked about this in other videos. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that there are two types of team leaders. There are God and minions, and then there's the team that is growth-minded, that we all win together, succeed together. The God and minions approach, generally, they are the only ones on the contract. They completely eradicate your name from everything, and they want to be the star of the show. Me, 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 me. Yeah, of course, if you're working for a team where the agent, the team leader, is going to be on all the contracts and somehow steal the limelight from their agents, yeah, I could see how that would potentially hinder you from growing your own brand and potentially cast a shadow over your own identity as a real estate agent, as a real estate professional. However, there are so many examples now of realtors, of agents, of teams, rather, that promote the agent and actually do not even cast a shadow over the identity of the individual agents who are working on their team. They work with them, not for them. The agents work with the team, not for the team. I can tell you personally, like most of the teams that I know now they're not even included on the contracts. And I can tell you personally, there's a reason that my team's name is the Selling Silicon Valley Group. It's not Danny Gould Agents or the Danny Gould team. There's a reason for that. It's because we are a brand that you can operate with, in conjunction with, as opposed to working for. I work for Danny Gould. No, it's not like that. And by the way, like this is not my concept. This is concepts that have been proven time and time again by teams that are doing way more than we are right now. And last thought on all of this is, there are agents on teams in today's market that are doing $50 to $100 million in production as a part of a team, and they have built their brand on the backs of this, on the backs of those teams, on the backs of those organizations. And so, if you're struggling with the idea of potentially plugging into something greater out of fear that you're going to lose your own identity, it may be time to reevaluate A, what you really want your identity to be, and then B, reevaluate whether or not the teams that you have thought about plugging into are even going to cast a shadow over your identity at all. Whether or not they're actually going to help build up your identity and help you become way more than you could ever be on your own. Because the truth is, there is strength in numbers, there are power in numbers, and ultimately your identity could be so much more if you cast that ego aside and allowed yourself that opportunity to grow. This is Danny Gould, everyone. I'm selling Silicon Valley. Stay legendary, everybody.